For emptying the house after my mom blew my roof repair fund on a trip? My name is Jenna, and I am 22 years old. It was 10 o'clock at night, 2 days before Christmas, when the movers took out the last sofa. I left my key on the empty countertop and an envelope with $3,000 in stapled together receipts. As I closed the door for the last time, my phone vibrated. It was my mom. "We have landed. Dinner is ready." I turned off my phone and for the first time in years I breathed. To understand why I emptied the house 2 days before Christmas, you have to understand how it all started. It began last month when I had just graduated from Central State University. I finished my degree on a full scholarship, which was a good thing because my parents had made it clear from day one that they had no intention of helping me financially. That was fine with me. I did not want to be a burden. So I got a job at the Daily Grind, a coffee shop near campus, and worked there throughout my 4 years of study. I managed to save enough to buy a decent laptop for my classes and a new phone when my old one died. What bothered me, however, was seeing how my parents helped my older sister, Paige, every time she came to visit. Paige has been married to her husband, Derek, for 5 years, and they have 2 children. Tyler, who is 4, and little Sophie, who just turned 2. Every time Paige came to the house with the kids in tow, my parents would give her some money. While slipping bills into her hand, my mom would say, "Here, so you can buy some groceries." And pulling out his wallet, my dad would add, "Buy those kids some new clothes." After that happened for the 3rd time in a month, I finally asked my mom when we were alone in the kitchen, trying not to show how hurt I was. I asked, "Why do you guys help Paige with money but you have never offered to help me with anything?" My mom's face hardened. "Paige has children to support, Jenna. You only have yourself." End of conversation. When graduation day finally arrived, my parents threw a party at the house. I was supposed to be happy, but I knew they were just going to use it as another opportunity to show off what great parents they were. My mom said, "We will take care of everything. You just worry about enjoying your big day." I later found out that taking care of everything meant using the $1,500 I had been saving for 2 months to pay for the party. They invited all our relatives and their friends from church and spent the whole evening soaking up compliments. My Aunt Martha was full of praise. "You have done a wonderful job with both girls." My dad's friend from work added, "The way you support your daughters is incredible." I just stood there with a fake smile plastered on my face, biting my tongue to keep from telling everyone the truth. Near the end of the party, as people were starting to leave, my Uncle Peter cornered me by the punch bowl. He asked, "So Jenna, what is next for you? Any plans now that you have your degree?" "I am thinking of getting a job and renting a place of my own," I said. Before I could continue, my mom jumped into the conversation, throwing an arm around my shoulders. With that sweet voice she used when she wanted to impress people, she said, "Oh, Jenna does not have to rush into renting. She can stay with us for now, save on rent." I turned to look at her, surprised. It was the first time I had heard of that offer. My uncle told my mom, "That is very generous of you, Linda. Rent is through the roof these days. It is so hard for young people to get started." The next morning at breakfast, my parents brought up the subject again. As my dad buttered his toast, he said, "We were serious about what we said last night. You can stay here while you look for a job. There is no need for you to throw money away on rent right now." Thanks," I said. "I will think about it." And I did think about it. While job hunting, I sent out dozens of resumes and landed a position at Apex Supply Company fairly quickly. It was an entry-level position, mostly data entry and answering phones, but it was a start. The problem was that my starting salary of $2,800 a month was not enough for the kind of apartment I wanted. Everything within my budget was far away in suburban neighborhoods, which meant a 2 or 3 hour round-trip commute each day by bus or in traffic. Meanwhile, my parents' house was a 15-minute walk from my new office. After running the numbers, I told my parents with some resignation that I would stay with them for a while. My mom gave me a hug that, for once, felt sincere and said, "That is wonderful, honey." For about 2 weeks after I started the new job, things were different. My mom made my favorite meals. My dad would ask about my day when I got home. I truly began to think that maybe they had finally started to value me. Then my first paycheck came. That night at dinner, my dad announced, "Jenna, we need to talk." My mom nodded in agreement. My mom began, "We are happy to have you here, but you are a working adult now." "That is right," my dad continued. So we expect you to contribute $400 a month for rent and another $200 for food. I nearly choked on my steak. $600 a month. That was more than 20% of my take-home pay. I said carefully, that seems a little steep. It is much less than you would pay for a place of your own, my mom pointed out. And that includes utilities. I could not argue with that. Okay, I agreed. I can manage that. And so my new routine began. I worked Monday through Friday, paid my share, and tried to save what I could from what was left. I was not building my savings as fast as I had hoped, but at least the balance was going up, not down. For a few months things were stable. They were not great, but they were manageable. Until one October evening, I came home from work to find the living room full of suitcases. Paige was sitting on the sofa with a sour look on her face. Derek was pacing back and forth. Tyler was running in circles around the coffee table, and Sophie was crying in my mom's arms. Putting down my purse, I asked, "What is going on?" Paige looked up, scowling, and said dryly, "Derek got demoted. We cannot afford our apartment anymore. We are moving in here until things get better." I forced a smile, but inside I was screaming. I knew this was not going to end well for me. I could feel it. My predictions about Paige moving in were spot on. Within a few days, my life became a nightmare. Paige did not work. She stayed home all day with the children, supposedly taking care of them. But the moment I walked through the door after work, she was grabbing her purse. On her way out, she would say, "Oh good, you are home. Tyler needs help with his coloring book, and Sophie just woke up from her nap." Before I could answer, she would be gone, dragging Derek with her to see friends or go shopping. Sometimes they would not come back until after the kids were asleep. The first few times I did not mind. I adore my niece and nephew despite everything. But after 2 weeks of that routine, I was exhausted. I worked all day and then came home to babysit until bedtime. My own chores like doing my laundry, preparing my lunch for the next day, even taking a shower were pushed to late at night, when I was completely drained. One night at dinner I finally spoke up. Pushing food around my plate, I said, "I cannot keep watching the kids every night. I get home from work so tired." The table fell silent. Then Paige scoffed. "Are you serious? You really think you are tired? Try being a mother." My dad put down his fork. "Jenna, family helps family. That is what we do." I looked at them in disbelief. "Then why do not you guys watch the kids sometimes?" My mom just shook her head. "We are too old to be chasing after little ones all afternoon." For the next month, nothing changed. I kept babysitting, I kept working, I kept paying my rent. My savings, which I had been so proud of, stalled. Then, about 2 months after Paige and her family moved in, my mom and dad dropped another bombshell at dinner. My dad began in his serious voice. "Jenna, we have to raise your rent. Our expenses have gone up with more people in the house. We are going to ask for an additional $200 a month." I almost choked. $800 a month. That was nearly a third of my salary. "It is still cheaper than renting your own place," my dad pointed out. I looked around the table at my sister and her husband. "How much are Paige and Derek paying?" Silence. My mom and Paige exchanged a quick glance. Finally, my mom said firmly, "Your sister cannot afford to pay rent right now. She has a family to support. You are single with no responsibilities. It is your turn to help out more." Something inside me snapped, but I held it in. "I see," was all I said. That night, I started looking for apartments online near my work. The cheapest decent one-bedroom was $1,500 a month plus utilities. With my current salary, it would be tight, but I could manage if I was careful. The problem was the initial costs. First month's rent, security deposit, maybe last month's rent up front. I needed at least $4,000 to move. I decided to tighten my belt and save aggressively. No more buying coffee, no more takeout lunches, no new clothes. Every spare dollar was going into my escape fund. But the universe, or rather my family, had other plans. A week later, the washing machine broke. My mom came to my room that night with a worried look. "Jenna, I hate to ask you this, but we need a new washer. With 5 adults and 2 kids in the house, we cannot be going to the laundromat. Could you lend us some money? We will pay you back, I promise." I spent $700 on a new, decent but not fancy washing machine. I kept all the receipts in my name, so I knew that legally no one could claim it was not mine. A month later, when I mentioned the loan, My mom's expression changed instantly. Narrowing her eyes, she said, "Are you really going to charge your own parents after everything we have done for you?" "But you said," I started. "I cannot believe how ungrateful you have become," she interrupted. "We raised you, we fed you, we gave you a roof over your head." I retreated, feeling like I had been slapped. Goodbye to that money. The hits kept coming. Next, it was the living room set which the kids had destroyed. Crayons on the sofa, juice spilled on the armchair, mysterious rips in the upholstery. "Christmas is coming," my dad reminded me. "The whole family will be here. We cannot let them see the living room like this." Another $1,200 were gone. Adding up everything that had left my account, it was already several $1,000s in less than a year. Then it was a new coffee maker for $150, a microwave for $200, and a dishwasher for $500. Each purchase was supposedly urgent. Each one was the last thing we will ask for. My savings account looked like a patient in intensive care. Each purchase was another blow. My savings were bleeding out. Instead of getting closer to my $4,000 goal, the balance was dropping. My heart sank every time I looked at my account. Then came December with its cold weather and a new crisis. My dad announced one morning, "The roof is leaking. If we do not fix it before the heavy rains start, the whole house could flood this winter." I asked, already knowing where this was going, "How much will it cost?" "About $3,000, my mom said. "We know it is a lot, but it is urgent." $3,000. Almost everything I had left. But what choice did I have? It was their house, but it was also my home for now. Writing them a check with a trembling hand, I said, "Okay, but I really cannot handle any more big expenses." "Of course, honey," my mom said softly. "This is the last thing, I promise." My dad nodded. "We will call the handyman to come next week." But the handyman never showed up. When I asked about it, my dad mumbled something about scheduling conflicts. My mom changed the subject every time I brought it up. And that brings us to the Saturday morning that changed everything. I woke up late, enjoying my day off, and went downstairs to find suitcases piled by the door. My mom, dad, Paige, Derek, and the kids were bustling around loading things into the car. Still half asleep, I asked, "What is going on?" My mom seemed surprised to see me. "Oh, good morning, honey. We are going on a little trip." "A trip? Where to?" "To Myrtle Beach," my dad said cheerfully. "Some friends have a beach house there. We are going for 2 weeks through Christmas, taking advantage of the kids' vacation and the holidays." "Where did you get the money for a vacation to Myrtle Beach?" I asked, though I already knew the answer. My mom at least had the decency to look guilty. "We used the roof money. We will save up for the repairs again after the holidays." My vision blurred with anger. "You mean my $3,000? The $3,000 I gave you to fix an emergency leak." "Now, Jenna," my dad said in his warning tone, "do not make a scene." But I was past that point. "I gave you that money because you told me it was an emergency. I have been shelling out money for months while I pointed to Paige and Derek, who were pretending not to listen, "live here for free." My mom said coldly, "If you do not have enough money, you need to work harder. Get a second job." "Yeah," Paige chimed in. "That is what adults do when they need more money." And just like that, they all left, leaving me alone in the big, empty house with a leaking roof and a shattered heart. After they drove off, I sat at the kitchen table for what felt like hours. The house was silent for the first time in months. No screaming kids, no complaining Paige, no parents making me feel guilty about something. Just silence. In that silence, everything became clear. This was never going to stop. They were going to keep taking and taking until there was nothing left of me. Not my money, not my energy, not my self-respect. I pulled out my phone and looked up Lauren, my friend from work. A few weeks ago, she had mentioned that her sister was looking for a roommate. When she answered, I said, "Hey Lauren, is your sister still looking for someone to share her apartment? Can you send me her number?" Lauren's sister, Monica, lived in an apartment just 2 blocks from my office. Perfect location, reasonable rent. I called her immediately. After I introduced myself, Monica said, "Lauren told me about you. She says you are super responsible and tidy. I would be happy to have you as a roomie." The next morning, I called a moving company and scheduled them for that afternoon. Then I went through the house, making a list of everything I had bought with my money. The washing machine, the living room furniture, the coffee maker, the microwave, the dishwasher. I had all the receipts saved in a folder. When the company answered, I said, "Hi, I need to move some furniture and appliances this afternoon." "Yes, it is a bit of an emergency." They arrived 2 hours later. By evening, everything I had bought was set up in Monica's apartment. She was thrilled. Running her hand over the new sofa, she said, "This is amazing. My place was so empty before." As I arranged my clothes in the new closet, I said, "I am glad it is useful to you." That night, I slept better than I had in months, maybe even years. My new room was small but clean, with a window overlooking a small courtyard. More importantly, it was mine. For the next 2 days, I went to work, came back to my new apartment, and enjoyed the peace. I did not tell my parents I had moved out. What was the point? Then, 2 days before Christmas, my phone buzzed with that message from my mom. "We will be home tomorrow afternoon. Please have dinner ready." Nothing fancy, just something warm. I let out a laugh. They still thought I was their personal cook, maid, and ATM. The next day, I left work early and went back to what had been my parents' house one last time. I ordered food from a cheap Italian place nearby. Pasta, salad, garlic bread. I set it all out on the dining room table, which was now the only piece of furniture in the living area. I even put out plates and silverware. Then I left, locking the door behind me for the last time and leaving the key on the counter. The next morning on Christmas Eve, I woke up to a flood of missed calls and furious texts. From my dad, "Where is all the furniture? Call me now." From my mom, "What did you do? Call me immediately." From Paige, "You are a miserable, selfish person. Mom is crying because of you." I silenced my phone and made myself a coffee in my new coffee maker. At 10 a.m., after having breakfast and a shower, I finally called my mom. She answered on the first ring. "Jenna, what is going on? You cannot just take things from our house." I said calmly, "I did not take anything that was not mine. I paid for all of it. Check your bank statements if you do not believe me." "But where are you?" she asked. "I moved out. I found a place closer to work." There was a pause. Then my mom's voice switched from furious to syrupy sweet. "Honey, come home. Let us talk about this. Tomorrow is Christmas. We are family, we should be together." "Family does not exploit each other," I said. "Family does not take $3,000 for an emergency roof repair and spend it on a vacation in Myrtle Beach. We made a mistake," my mom admitted. "We will pay you back. Just come home for Christmas." For a moment I almost caved. Almost. Then I heard Paige's voice in the background. "Tell her we really need the money to fix the roof now." And in that moment my heart hardened again. "I am not coming back," I said. "Not for Christmas, not ever. And I am not giving you any more money." "But the roof," my mom started, "is no longer my problem," I finished for her. "The house is yours. You can figure out how to fix it." "You ungrateful," my mom began, but I cut her off. "Goodbye, Mom. Merry Christmas." I hung up and blocked their numbers. All of them, my mom, my dad, Paige, even Derek. Then I turned off my phone and went for a long walk around my new neighborhood. The next day was Christmas. Monica had gone to spend the holidays with her parents, so I had the apartment to myself. I made myself a nice breakfast, watched Christmas movies, and ordered Chinese food for dinner. To some, spending Christmas alone might sound sad, but it was not. For the first time in years, I felt at peace. No one was taking advantage of me. No one was making me feel bad about myself. No one was draining my bank account or my energy. It has been 6 months since I left my parents' house. 6 months of peace, of saving money, of building a life that is truly my own. All of this has happened in less than a year since my graduation. Living with Monica has been great. We get along well, we split the chores fairly, and we respect each other's space. On weekends, we sometimes cook together or binge-watch shows, but there is no obligation or guilt-tripping if I want to spend the evening alone in my room. Last month, my cousin Rachel called me. She said cautiously, "I just thought you would want to know. Your parents had to take out a loan to fix the roof." I was not surprised. "How did you find out?" I asked. "Your mom told my mom. She made it sound like they are in a bad spot because you abandoned them." Rachel paused. I told my mom what really happened. "I hope you do not mind." "Not at all," I said. "Thank you." Rachel also mentioned that Paige and her family were still living with my parents, but things had changed. "Your parents have started charging them rent and making them contribute to groceries." Paige is furious, Rachel said. She says they promised she could live there for free. Sounds familiar, I replied wryly. Work has been going well. 2 months ago I was made the lead on a small project team, and I saw it through with great results. Yesterday my boss called me into her office. Jenna, I have been very impressed with your work, she said. We are creating a new assistant manager position in the department, and I want you to apply for it. Trying to contain my excitement, I said, really? That would be amazing. The salary would be $42,000 a year, she continued. That is an increase of about $8,000 over what you make now. With that income, I could get a place of my own sooner than I expected. That evening, I started looking at apartment listings online. Nothing fancy, just a small one-bedroom within walking distance of work. I found several within my new budget, all available in June or July. Perfect timing if I get the promotion. I have also been looking up decorating ideas, nothing expensive, just ways to make a space feel truly mine. I started a digital board with color schemes, furniture styles, and organization hacks. I am thinking of light blues and grays with pops of yellow, minimalist furniture, lots of plants. A quiet sanctuary that is all my own. Last weekend I was at the department store when I saw them. My mom, dad, and Paige pushing a shopping cart down the home goods aisle. I ducked behind a shelf, but not before Paige spotted me. Our eyes met for a second before she nudged my mom and pointed in my direction. My mom looked over, then deliberately turned the cart and went down another aisle. My dad followed without a backward glance. It stung a little, I will not lie, but then I remembered all those months of feeling used, all that money they took from me, and the sting faded. They made their choice and I made mine. I saw them again 2 weeks ago at the supermarket. This time it was just my mom and Paige. They were arguing over something in the cereal aisle. I walked past them with my little basket, and neither of them said a word to me. I did not approach them either. What for? My Aunt Martha called me the other day. She is my dad's sister and has always been more level-headed than the rest. Your parents are struggling with the loan payments, she said. They have been asking the family for help. I hope no one gives them any money, I replied. Most of us have learned our lesson, Aunt Martha said. Your cousin told us what they did to you. I am not surprised they are looking for their next victim. Are Paige and Derek still there? I asked. Aunt Martha continued, yes, but your parents started charging them rent about 3 months ago. Paige is furious. She says they promised she could live there for free. I could not help but laugh at the irony. Then Aunt Martha asked, are you ever going to speak to them again? I sighed. Not for now. Maybe someday, if they genuinely apologize and change. But I am not holding my breath. I do not blame you, she said. For what it is worth, I think you did the right thing. Her support meant a lot. It is good to know that not everyone in the family believes my parents' version of the story. Last night, Monica and I were having dinner when she asked if I had found any apartments I liked. Few, I said. I am waiting to hear about the promotion before I make a decision. I am going to miss you as a roomie, she said, but I understand why you want your own space. Thanks for understanding, I said. And for being such a great roommate these past 6 months. You helped me when I needed it most. That is what friends are for, she replied simply. And she is right. Real friends, real family, they help each other without keeping score, without taking advantage of each other's weaknesses. This morning, I got an email from HR asking me to come in for an interview for the assistant manager position next Tuesday. I spent the afternoon preparing answers to potential questions and picking out my outfit. As I hung the blazer back in the closet, I caught my reflection in the mirror. I looked different, more confident, less burdened. It was not just that I was smiling more. There was a lightness about me that was not there before. 6 months ago I was drowning financially, emotionally, and spiritually. I was being squeezed dry by the people who were supposed to love me. Now I am building a life on my own terms. I have the prospect of a better job. I am saving for my own place. And I am surrounded by people who respect me. Do I miss my family? The honest answer is sometimes yes. I miss the family I wish I had, the one that would have supported me the way they supported Paige, the one that would have been proud of my accomplishments, the one that would have treated me with a basic level of respect. But I do not miss the family I actually had, the one that saw me only as a resource to be drained. Maybe someday they will change. Maybe someday we will have some kind of relationship again. But I am not waiting for that day to arrive. I am moving forward. My life is just beginning, and for the first time it truly feels like my own. Comment. I hope this story stayed with you the way it did with me. Setting clear boundaries is one of the kindest things you can do for yourself. Your self-respect matters more than keeping everyone else comfortable. It's okay to choose peace, even when it means making difficult choices. Taking responsibility for your own happiness is a powerful step forward. Healing truly begins once you stop allowing others to drain your energy and undermine your worth. Be gentle with yourself as you learn to value your own well-being. Real love and real family should lift you up, never pull you down. You have the strength to create a life that feels light and respectful. I believe in your ability to build something better for yourself. If you liked it, don't forget to leave a comment and support the channel by subscribing. See you in the upcoming stories.